Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is vowing to push ahead with a ground offensive in the southern Gaza city of Rafah, despite growing international warnings, including from the U.S.
We're going to do it while providing safe passage for the civilian population so they can leave. Those who say that under no circumstances should we enter Rafah are basically saying, lose the war, keep Hamas there.
Netanyahu made those comments in an interview airing on ABC this morning. No further details have been provided about where the more than 1 million displaced Palestinians would be able to find safety. There's also growing frustration inside Israel. Thousands of protesters blocked a major highway in Tel Aviv for several hours last night. They are calling on the government to secure a deal to free the 100-plus hostages still held by Hamas. This, as the CIA director is headed to Cairo for the latest round of negotiations this week, and just days after the IDF confirmed at least 31 hostages in Gaza are in fact dead. Yonatan Shamriz's brother, Alon, was one of 3 Israeli hostages accidentally killed by the IDF in Gaza in December. Yonatan Shamriz, thank you so much for being here this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and of course, my condolences to you and your family and with everything you're dealing with. I did want to ask you about some reports today that Hamas says Israeli airstrikes on Gaza over the last 96 hours have killed another 2 hostages and injured others. We haven't confirmed that information, but I wonder how you feel hearing about this.
I don't really think we should take Hamas reports for granted.
Yeah.
Even if there is any confirmation, Hamas mostly report false reports. But sure, this is very concerning about the life of the hostages.
Well, well, particularly, sorry to interrupt you, Yonatan, particularly because we did hear that at least 31 hostages have been confirmed dead. How did that news come to you?
Yeah, this is very hard to hear. I have a few friends that are still hostages in Gaza, so it's not easy to hear this news. But most of the hostages that were killed, I'm assuming that they were killed from the October 7th, and some of them have been killed during their captivity time.
Right. Your brother Alon was accidentally killed by the IDF in December, along with 2 other hostages. At the time, what was your message to the Israeli government? Because of course he was taken hostage, and then the killing was accidental as they were going into Gaza. What was that like for you?
First of all, I strongly insist that the Israeli government will prioritize the release of the hostages before anything else. I hardly suggest and plead the Israeli government to do whatever it takes in order to release the hostages as soon as they can. Unfortunately, the main objective of this war is to destroy Hamas. So the hostages are second or third, and obviously after the incident with my brother, it's just confirmed for me that the Israeli government don't really care about the Israeli hostages right now, and this is very it's shocking for me.
Mm-hmm. The CIA director is headed to Egypt this week to try and resume negotiations for a hostage deal, although, as you say, the Prime Minister Netanyahu rejected a deal with Hamas a few days ago. Do you feel like you will get to a place where Netanyahu does agree to some sort of deal in order to have the hostages freed?
I'm not really sure about the upcoming deal, any deal. I'm afraid that Netanyahu decisions are not pure. And it's from since day one of the war. And I'm not really think that the hostages are in top of his mind. So I'm not very optimistic about the upcoming deal.
Your family, other families, though, are trying to put a lot of pressure on him. There were protests in the streets near Tel Aviv again yesterday. Are you surprised that they are not being more responsive to your calls for the hostages to be the priority here?
No, not surprised at all. For the last year and a half, the Israeli government, didn't really care about the situation in the south. Just to remind that before October 7th, there were many terrorist attacks on my community and other communities in the south, and the Israeli government didn't really care and they didn't really respond to these terrorist attacks. So they don't really care. They care about their survival, about their chairs. They, trying to keep in power, and I think this is what led them in their decision maker. So I'm not really optimistic about.
You were also in the kibbutz and were managed to hide your wife and your child. You now have a second child, and were not taken by Hamas. What would you like people to know about your brother, though, and why you're still fighting for him and for your friends?
You really need to know that. I know that it's been like 5 months from 7th of October, and you're starting to forget. 7th of October is starting to fade away, but you really need to understand that what we've been through on the 7th of October, it's the most brutal massacre that the Jewish people have been through since the Holocaust, and every second that the hostages are still in Hamas hands, there are a great risk for their lives. And I think not only Israel, but the international community should do whatever it takes in order to pressure Hamas, pressure Qatar, pressure Egypt, in order to release those hostages that were being kidnapped from their own beds during a Jewish holiday.
Yonatan, do you think about how this conflict will end? Yes, the hostages is your priority, but do you also think about how this will end?
I have many wishful thinkings, but I'm sure that the day after, international forces will go inside Gaza and will neutralize Hamas and will, build the mechanism to operate Gaza with civilians that seek for peace, and will try to build Gaza from scratch, but without Hamas and without any terrorist infrastructure. Hopefully it will happen, but again, it's every day it's something else happens, so I'm not really sure what is going to happen.
Yonatan Shamriz, thank you for speaking with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Take care.